fearless fundraisers. I'm Don Lego. It's time. Buckle up. It's a new episode of Raise Nation Radio, the one and only podcast made to inspire fundraisers like you to continue making impact in our communities, building better tomorrows, and exchanging ideas. So whether you're a trailblazer or seasoned pro, you'll pick up the trends that transform your fundraising. And together, we'll dive into lively conversations. We're going to chat with industry-leading fundraisers and thought leaders and explore hot-button issues and innovative ideas. So stay with us for the next 30 minutes while we inspire you to embrace the future of fundraising. Well, let's get going. Raise Nation, welcome back. I'm so excited to join you again on this channel. Thank you for joining us. It's just really great to connect with you all this way, and we so appreciate you making the show just so popular. We have a treat for you today. I'm so pleased to welcome a very special guest, part of the Raise family. I think y'all know and love her already. We're going to talk about something new and exciting. She just got back from Australia, if you can imagine. We have Shanna Adamic from Oracle Health. She's actually the executive director of the Oracle Health Foundation, the director of social impact, and probably 5 other titles that will follow that. But that's about all I can get for Shanna. Welcome to Raise Nation Radio. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here, Dawn. Thank you. I always love talking to you. And I think I've shared this before, but I do feel like that one cause, that Raise, is like a second work family for me. So I
For
love
sure.
my family so much.
Yeah, and we love you right back at you. There's so many things I want to talk to you and catch up. I know you just got back from Australia, so thank you, thank you, thank you. You're probably still in that, travel fog, but we have something important to talk about. The new book, which I have to tell you, stopped me in my LinkedIn scroll, right? Like I scroll. Oh, what is this pretty thing I'm looking at? And of course, it was the cover of your book, which we're going to get into. And I know your family, but it's just possible that some of our audience might not know all things Shanna just yet. So would you mind just giving us that introduction and speak to the audience, let them know whatever you'd like to share?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have loved being part of this family for the last several years. And it's one I feel like I've been a part of even longer than I probably have. But as far as my career, my profession goes, I am a 20 plus year experienced executive in the world of corporate philanthropy and social impact. And I have been able to be on both sides of philanthropy, which is the public and the private side. So I really, really loved that fundraising side of it and really leaned on one cause at a certain time in my career. And that's actually where I fell in love with this relationship is through that. Wore that hat of development, raising, over $50 million for a foundation that I still am a leader of today. The foundation is now moved into the private sector as a part of Oracle, and as Oracle Health Foundation. It's a corporate 100 nonprofit. And so it's incredible to be able to continue on a mission and have the support of this incredible enterprise to power it forward so that we can continue making a change in the world of health and eliminating barriers to healthcare for children around the world. So that is really where my beginnings where my beginnings were and where they continue to be and where my future is in leading with this foundation. And I've also found a passion along the way to help others, to inspire, and one that's been not only connected to my cause and my passion for leadership and in this realm of fundraising, which I'll tie together, but also in my experience and my health journey. And so these ideas really started to come together and I started to write them down, and then came about this idea for putting them on actual and actual paper and making a book. And so that's really where I started. And now here I go into the future, and hopefully my story can inspire others.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think speaking to you a few years ago, we saw the book coming for sure. And I think that you can also see how all the things that you went through in your journey, professionally, personally, sort of led to this moment. It's almost the why coming together, the purpose
Yes.
coming together. Some of those times were very difficult for you. They weren't all rising to the top, of the Oracle Health Foundation or cheering your way on the sidelines with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it wasn't all glory and fame. You've had some very, very rough moments, but still together they collectively had led to to the book. And I'm sure we're going to get into this because the audience is probably like, what? Kansas City Chiefs, health concerns, Oracle,
Yes.
Dawn, what are you talking about? But I know you'll make sense of all of this. But I do want to go back to my LinkedIn scroll. Um, we all do it, right? And things stop you. Your book is beautiful. First of all, you're beautiful. The cover, the colors, the title, Audacious. I really didn't know it was yours at first. And then I had to stop and be like, oh, what is this pretty thing I'm looking at? And of course it was your book. So well done.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Now you're in pre-sale right now. Is that right?
I am in pre-sale right now, which I'm being published by Wiley, and which
Okay.
an incredibly incredible publisher group. And so I'm so been so pleased with this process with them. And if anyone has been through this process too, you know that pre-sale is an important part of the process. And so I'm really going around and talking to different groups about this book and about what audacious optimism means and this journey has been to me and the one that I share. And I hope that people will go out and purchase it and read it and then connect with me on it. I want people to actually share their stories of optimism with me too.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone who knows you, they know that that's a true statement for sure. So if somebody wants to get on that, is it a list? Is it a order? What can they do right now if they want to be sure to get an advance copy or one of the first copies?
Absolutely. Well, you can always actually just go out to Amazon or Barnes and Noble and type in Sean Adamic or Audacious Optimism, or visit my website, which is audaciousoptimism.com. And you can also sign up there to be on a newsletter connected to me. I also have a tab there that is a little bit about I want to hear from you, which is tell me your story of optimism, share
Love
your
that.
story. And that could be anything from something that you dealt with that was personal to you, changing jobs, a health journey, leaving a relationship, but how did you channel optimism in those moments and how were you bold? And so that's really where I want to connect with people who have this shared passion.
Yeah, okay, good. I think we put the, cart before the horse there a little bit, but, I knew you were in pre-sale, so I just
Yes.
wanted to, understand how we can get a copy when it's ready. But you know what? We'll put all of that in the show notes. So the
Okay,
audience
perfect.
that's listening right now, links, you're one click away to getting Shauna's book. So now that we've started at the end, let's go back to the beginning. Just can you give our listeners like an overview of the book and just what inspired you to write Audacious?
Absolutely. I really believe that adversity can be a catalyst for transformation. And I've experienced this. I've lived this. And what I've done with this book is that I've shown this thread that was starting to appear and be pulled throughout my life of optimism. My life, my love for my sport, which we'll dive into in a second, but NFL cheerleading for the Kansas City Chiefs, a bit on my career, and then through my health journey and what I discovered along the way. And pieces of that are that, optimism is something that is a choice. And sometimes it's a gritty choice and it's bold. It takes audacity to choose optimism at your darkest moments. So when I talk about audacious optimism, what I talk about is in a frame of four elements, and that is a choice. It's about trusting yourself. It's about embracing the unknown, and it's about that mental toughness, tapping into that mental toughness, that audacious optimism. And, again, going back to that gritty choice, it's because, so many people tie optimism to positivity, which is a feeling. They tie it to happiness, which is fleeting and probably only lasts the duration of the coffee you're drinking or the glass of wine you're having, but it's not either of those things. Optimism has to be chosen and it has to be picked in the hardest time. It's having hope and confidence in your future and taking that step forward even when you don't see the light in a dark room, even when you're not sure what tomorrow is going to bring or when you wake up that next morning or something hard just happened. And that's really the root of audacious optimism. So I hope that this journey that I take people through not only shows how I kind of learned bits and pieces along the way, but how I came to actually refine that during my darkest moment, which was my health journey.
So let's pause there a moment because I think we're making light of the situation. We're talking about, you know, cheering on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs and your outstanding career at Oracle Health. And then we just kind of throw in this health journey thing. But it wasn't that insignificant. It was
No.
quite significant.
Yes.
And you speak from a place of a very deep emotion where, being optimistic was a hard choice for you because you had everything to feel the opposite about. So do you want to share a little bit of that so we kind of get the audience into the right sentiment? We don't want to
Absolutely.
gloss over the situation.
Gosh. No, absolutely. During this time of my life that I was going through a health journey, I didn't even know I was really going through it until a few years in 2011, when I retired from cheerleading. And maybe even let me back up for a second longer, or a moment, is that I talked about being in philanthropy and social impact for over 20 years. During that time, I paralleled that career with a career in my sport as a professional athlete in the NFL. I was one of the longest tenured, or the most, not longest, but most tenured cheerleaders for the Kansas City Chiefs, cheering for 8 years. And during that 8-year period, I captained the team. I cheered for 96 games. I was our Pro Bowl cheerleader. I was one of 12 cheerleaders picked to tour with the Department of Defense and represent the NFL on our military tours. And after 8,275 hours of practice, I retired. And I
Is that all?
retired. I retired in 2011 at the age of 31. And my joke is always that I retired and I was nicknamed the fossil. And I take
At
that.
31.
Oh, yeah, and I love that nickname so much, but I always laugh because I was 31 dancing next to an 18-year-old who could kick to her face on cue, and I was like, "I need 30 minutes to stretch out my whole body because that's not gonna be possible," but it was an incredible time. But that last year, when I retired from cheerleading, as I was retiring that year, I started to notice that I was losing hearing on the right side, and I went to a doctor, got checked out, and they confirmed that I had mild hearing loss, and they also blamed it on that I had been cheering for nearly a decade in the loudest sports stadium in the world. That checked out. It felt right until the moment it didn't, until that hearing started to decrease even more. And over the course from 2011 to 2017, I went to the doctor 109 times with growing
I don't know what's more astonishing, how many hours you practiced or how many times you visited the doctor, but go ahead.
Well, and I think that, to put it in perspective, at that time, late 20s to early 30s, and the average woman at that age probably goes to the doctor maybe 4 times a year. And so 109 times over the course of 6 years is quite a bit of
Crazy.
visits, and that's the doctor, the ER, and specialist. And I was going for growing symptoms of headaches, dizziness. I always would describe it as I felt like I was walking slanted. I started to have vision problems. I started to see double. I started to see waves. I eventually actually lost my words, aphasia on stage. I remember speaking in these words that I knew so well would physically not come out of my mouth. It was the scariest time of my life, and then I pushed one more time because I saw a celebrity interview. I pushed one more time and said, "I think I have these same symptoms that they're talking about on this interview." I got into a specialist. I brought this journal that I had made, that I started to create this timeline of my symptoms and my appointments. And I went in there and I said, I have been to the doctor so many times. Here is my story. I have been dismissed for Meniere's disease, benign positional vertigo, dehydration, cold, and also because I'm a woman, because I've been breastfeeding 2 children and I have periods, and I've been told this is hormonal imbalance. This doesn't feel like hormonal imbalance. And I said to him, "You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I think I have a brain tumor." And he said, "You are crazy. You're supposed to come in here with the problems, and I'm supposed to find the answers." 20 minutes
Oh, nice answer.
Yes. 20 minutes after my MRI, I found out that I had a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor
Oh,
present
God.
in my brain stem that was rare, and it was benign, but it was also life threatening because of that compression. And they gave me 1 year to find the right surgery. And, um, and that 1 year became the most precious thing that you could possibly imagine. And so I moved fast and I exercised my right as a patient to get a second opinion. And the rest is history. And it's something that I wish every single patient in this world could have the experience that I did, not the length of time it took me to get the answers. Because any patient who's been in my situation has wanted connected and intelligent healthcare. But every patient should have my experience when I was able to get to the care I needed because I had the resources, I had the opportunity, I had the connection. I was privileged to do that. And that's a whole discussion on health equity that we can have at another time. That's
Yeah,
part of it.
another podcast
So
episode.
when we talk about audacious optimism, that's really where it was refined, uh, Don, because there was a moment where I had to think to myself, I'm going to give up everything because I'm going to get the right care and I'm going to get it where I'm supposed to, away from my family, away from my kids, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be the mom that I want to be to this 3 and this 1-year-old. And so there's more
We're
to
that
it,
young.
which I go
Yeah.
into the book, but it's a lot.
And through that, you were able to stay optimistic. I didn't realize your children were that little at the time. Um, and you chose optimism even in those darkest moments. And hopefully now the audience is making sense of this, right? And I'm sure just in this podcast episode alone that we're inspiring people that might have gone through
Yeah.
the same thing. But even if they didn't go through something as grave as you're describing, all the more reason to choose and stay positive. Where did you get the inner strength to stay positive, with everything coming at you and looking at I mean, I would fall apart just looking at my 1 and 3-year-old, quite honestly.
I did, and so that's part of the journey too, is that I absolutely felt every single emotion. I felt anger, I felt sadness, I felt loss, I felt all of it, and I felt it time and time again since that point, in different, situations. But it's the ability to be able to, in those moments, it's almost this, pause, this closing of the eyes, this understanding that, "Okay, this is where I have to choose this, when I don't want to, when I don't see the light." When I don't see the moment, and I was able to. And it's not only because I had learned this throughout my life in different moments and I was able to channel that, but it's also it's something that I have put into practice every single day. Being able to channel this in a bigger way takes that. Just like, working out, takes you're not going to see results unless you get to the gym every single day or when you need to. I put optimism into practice in every part of my life every day with small, like very, very small movements that allow me to do those same things when I need it the most, when it seems the most ridiculous to try and choose hope and confidence in the future. And I always go back to, John, I go back to this idea of that optimism as a choice, because again, people default so much to thinking optimism is a feeling. I feel optimistic. I feel optimistic. Like that sounds like I feel positive. And optimism really
I
is a choice that you
choose
can make
yeah.
when you're not happy. In fact, if you let me, I have a small little pull-out from my book that I wanna read.
Please, oh my
Okay.
gosh, yes.
And
You
I pulled this up because this is really where it's all centered around for me. Choice is the cornerstone of human existence, an omnipresent force that guides your journey and shapes your identity. The power of choice gives you agency in life, empowering you to take control of your circumstances and navigate through life's tumultuous waters. It grants you the ability to assert your autonomy and make decisions that align with your values, desires, and dreams. Each choice you make reveals a part of who you are as an individual, capturing your unique preferences, beliefs, and priorities within its delicate folds. With choice also comes consequence. Each decision, no matter how big or small, carries a weight of impact not just on ourselves, but on those around you. You must bear the responsibility for these outcomes, whether they are positive or negative, for it is ultimately your choices that guide you down new paths, filled with experiences that mold you into the person you are meant to become. Like painters on a blank canvas, you hold the brush of free will in your hands. In the end, it is your choices that intricately weave together the fabric of your existence, influence the relationships you form, and define your journey. And when you come to understand that you have a choice in every situation, even amid an unpredictable and sometimes impossible world, you also come to realize that choosing optimism is an audacious act of bravery and trust.
Oh, I love it. I hope you're having an audio version of the book too, because I feel like I wanna listen to this while I'm, like, walking or something, so hopefully
I
that's
you know what?
coming.
I just actually got an email from my publisher this morning saying that the contract has landed with the audio. So,
Yes, please. Praise the Lord. Okay, so all things then, hard copy, soft copy,
yes,
all things. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, so that was beautiful, eloquent, so written, so lovely. It couldn't have been easy. So like what was the most challenging part of writing and getting to what you just shared with us?
I think that, oh gosh, where do I even begin? I remember I remember at the end of it was near Christmas. What year are we in? We're in 20 near Christmas 2022. And I was like, and I just had this I think burning like or this in my heart, like that I was like, I need to start talking about this story. And it started with my health journey because I had so many people that continue today reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram and say they've heard my story and they're experiencing a health journey that's similar. And the one that really was the one that pushed me to, okay, I'm going to do this was a young woman reached out to me from Cape Town, South Africa. And she said that she had been diagnosed with my same tumor and that her doctor in the diagnosis, had his team send a link to a YouTube video I did right after my surgery 6 years ago and said, listen to her story. She comes with a lot of hope for what the future is going to hold for you. And she sent that to me. And I was like, I turned to my husband and I was like, I'm supposed to write this. Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm supposed to do. So I started writing and it started with my health journey. And then it turned into, okay, well, how did I get to this point where I had to refine this form of audacious or this form of optimism, which is audacious optimism. And I started to pull out different stories through my life that led to this moment from my watching my father go through a health crisis as a young girl and seeing him pass away to really going forward in a family that is of a specific faith and choosing not to go that route with my faith and it being okay and then living my life and learning in my career and loving and going into being a professional athlete and what I learned there through mental toughness, pulling that all together into this refining moment that I've had to use again and again and again. And so as I was writing that, it has evolved so much along the way. And I really realized too that it's not just me sharing my journey, it's what you as a reader can take away from that journey. And you may not be experiencing the same thing, but the lessons learned in that are the same. So whether it's a change in your life, a big move you want to make, a loss of a job, a change in a relationship, or maybe it is that health journey, there is relatable substance in this book to how you can really dig deep and make that choice. Because when we think about that choice again, and kind of what I just read too, that's where it comes. We all have these moments in our life that are really defining, where we can think we remember the moment before and the moment after. And what comes after is a loss of control. As I think we just talked about, like I felt like you feel a loss of control in situations, but what you do have control over is your response, your reaction, which will directly affect how you act. And that's where this audacious optimism takes hold.
Yeah, it's a very stoic way of thinking actually, and it's a timeless lesson. It's you're bringing this message forward through your personal journey, but you could apply it to anyone's, personal journey because we all have,
Absolutely.
ups and downs. So I really love that. It's going to hit the top of the charts for inspiration. I am sure. Did you have any so you started in 2022 and
Yeah.
your pre-sale now 2022, let me do some almost 2 years. Is that accurate?
Almost 2 years.
Almost
Almost
2
2 years.
years. Yeah. Any points of writer's block or creative stumps that
There's
along the way?
there's so many points. And I do feel like that. Oh gosh, I want to be able to tell you who this author was, and I can't even remember, but there was this author I was listening to in January 2023 while I'm writing this book. And she was like, hear me out, authors. There is going to be a moment when you are writing a book where you are going to put it down and be like, I have to walk away. And you might walk away for 3 months, but you will come back, but you just have to take a break. And I did that. And it was so true. And I thought at that time when I heard that, I was like, no way, I'm not going to walk away. This story
Not
is
me.
passionate to me. And like, and or for, and so I, but I did. And it was interesting, Don, is that I actually wrote the heart, the core of my book, in a matter of 3 weeks because I sat and did nothing else.
You were on a roll,
I
right? It
wanted
was
to write.
yeah, you had to
And
get
then
it out on paper.
yes, and then the evolution of this has taken really that year and a half on top of that, like, and all of the, the steps that it's taken along the way, and so it's been really great, and there was actually a moment too where I shelved this entire thing. I shelved it, and I thought, "This is gonna be a great thing that I wrote for my family," and can also be a platform and helped me with, what I speak on, which is audacious optimism. And I thought, but, this book can be something my kids can read one day and really understand what I went through in my life and different points. And then I happen to be connected on LinkedIn to someone named Shanna Hawking. Yes, she has the same name as I do.
Same name.
And
Okay.
we connected with each other probably 8 months ago. And she said, I couldn't help but notice that you and I have the same name and it's pronounced the same way and spelled a different way than anyone wants to say it. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, Shauna is not only in philanthropy, but she's also the author of, let me see if I have her book. Oh, One Bold Move a Day. She's the author of One Bold Move a Day. And so we decided to have virtual coffee and we started talking. We just hit it off. And these two Shaunas on the call. And then she said, asked me if I had ever considered writing a book. And I said, well, I did. I shelved it. And she said, what if I could reach out to my publisher and make an introduction for you? And she made an introduction to her publisher, and her publisher was her editor, excuse me, moved from the publishing company she had been with to another. And her editor, Cheryl, and I connected, and the rest is history. And so it just
Meant to
happened to
be.
be the right connection. But along the way, the writer's block happened, the journey itself happened. There were moments where I had to channel, this audacious optimism again, and I wanted to, I couldn't even look at it sometimes, but it all was so true, what I was writing, I had to actually put into practice while I'm writing it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that, but just to inspire all the other authors out there. So knowing that that was your journey, I have to ask, do you think you're going to feel? I mean, I'm sure you have prototypes and, manuscripts and all those different parts and pieces that go into a book. But when you see your book in print for the first time, like in a like retail setting, how is that going to make you feel? And how does your family going to react to that?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I feel like there's so many emotions that are tied to it. I feel like this has really been like people talk about it like birthing a child. Like this has been like a baby. Like I put so much love into. And it's also very personal. It's a very personal story, so I share a lot, so there's also vulnerability tied to it. I just think that it just will feel just like, "Oh gosh, thank you for this opportunity." Like, I feel so grateful. I already feel grateful that it's there, and I think when I hold it, I mean, I think I'm gonna feel all the emotions again, so
Yeah.
I always
Okay.
compare my
You're
mind
going to reserve a signed copy for me. Please tell me that you will.
Of course not, and it's funny because I always, compare all my emotions, which everyone can, to the movie Inside Out. I'm like, "Those are all the emotions I feel up there and more."
Are you talking about the Disney movie?
Yes, yes,
Did you just see the sequel to that?
I did, I just took my daughter, and
Oh,
it's right at that age, and she kept looking at me, and I kept pointing at her, I'm like, "Yes, that
that's
emotion, that's what that is."
Well, I just took my son recently. Our audience know my son is nonverbal. He does
Yeah.
have special needs. He loves anything Disney. So a new Disney movie comes out. We're there. We typically go to the beautiful theaters, right? With that
Yes.
recline and they bring food to you and I afford that, luxury for him. But now I asked him, Michael, what's your favorite movie? He goes, Disgust. So adorable, but it's a good movie. So now I know exactly how you feel about your
That's
book. It's all the
awesome.
emotions. So
Yeah.
funny. Oh my goodness. So how did you balance this all? I mean, the 2-year process, sometimes on the shelf, sometimes not. A mom. I only listed 2 of your titles, but let's be honest, we know that you have like, a pretty extensive resume. How did you balance it all with all the other aspects of your life?
I think that there is something I've learned over the last couple years, and it's that I have I pour myself into things as I'm doing them. And so when I would chisel out time to write, I would be 100% in the writing. When I chisel out time for the speaking, I'm 100% in the speaking and with those audiences. During my work time is sacred, and so I make sure that I continue to be focused on that and stay only focused on that piece. So I really was able to divide and conquer all the way around. And then when it came to my family and my kids, I had to learn along the way too that I had to completely tune out it all. Like I had to turn off. I had to shut my computer. I had to shut my office door, and I had to go commit, whether that's 1 hour, 2 hour, or the sports with the kids, and then come back. And so it really was this something I've learned along the way, and something I also learned in this process was being able to be okay with there's a lot going on. I'm balancing a lot of different things, whether it's plates or I'm juggling balls in the air, but it's being dedicated to that one thing that's in my view at that moment and giving it all I could. And so um, yeah, and I just also have to think too that, I'm just really thankful to my family for understanding as well, like everything that mom was diving into. I remember my daughter along the way, she knocked on my office door and, she opened the door and I looked at her and I was like, "Hi." She goes, "Oh, I can tell what mode you're in." I was like, "What does that mean?" And she goes, "You're writing, aren't you?" And I was like, "How do you know that?" She goes, "I know by your face." I was like, "Okay." So that was interesting too to have that conversation.
Yeah. Oh my God. They're so perceptive, but so supportive at the same time, right? They want
Yeah.
you to succeed. They're so proud of mom.
Yeah.
So that's lovely. All right. I have one more deep question, and then I want to go into like a little lightning round
Okay.
just to get some things. So, how the deep question before the lightning round is, tell us how your audience can connect with you, or how you plan to connect with your audience, outside of social. I mean, I follow you on social. I see all the things. I know I can like and comment, and I probably do. So it's lovely to connect with you that way. But I think that people are going to fall more in love with you than we already are. And some are going to empathize, and we just want to be connected as people. So what's your plan for that? I know I'm hitting you with a hard question, but I want to know what's your
Yeah.
plan?
No, absolutely. I think, of course, on social, people can connect with me. I really focus on LinkedIn and Instagram, but LinkedIn primarily. And so, but then aside from that, both my websites, ShannaAdamic.com is a central website for my speaking engagements. Audacious Optimism, which is part of that, is actually connected to my book and a little bit more around the purpose of audacious optimism and how I feel about it as a practice, as a choice, as a strategy for my life. And I love for people to connect with me there. There is an area where they can actually add in their own story as we talked about, or they can sign up there to stay connected with me through email. But I want to engage with people. And so I get excited to hear from them. As I mentioned, people reach out to me on LinkedIn and Instagram with their personal stories. Right now, health journeys, some with some optimism because they've seen my posts recently. And I try always to interact with them because I think that's so important to have that personal touch and personal engagement there. So really in those avenues are the best, and I just appreciate any support that's given to me in this path of putting this love for what is audacious optimism out in the world and also sharing my journey.
Any book signings are you planning?
Oh, yes, I'm planning
Oh,
some
good.
signings along the way. Once it actually goes into print, I'll be doing some of those, and I'm gonna be doing a few of those pre-parties ahead of time too, but, I know for a fact I'm gonna do one here in Kansas City, one in Texas, and one in DC, and so I'm
Oh,
working on some
I'll have to look
others.
out for all of that. That's great. Okay, so a little lightning round. Let's have some
Okay.
fun. Okay, if the book was made into a movie, who would you want to cast to play you?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. I love it so much. And immediately my mind goes to 2 different people. And the first one is Leslie Mann. I've always actually related to Leslie Mann a lot. She has this self-deprecating like humor that I love and that I have been told I have a similar personality to. And then the other one would be Anne Hathaway. And I think a little bit like for, some of the same
I
reasons
see.
and then and some others, but I think both those women are phenomenal, but
Yes.
yes, I think
I
that
love Anne Hathaway as an actress. I want, if I'm cruising any streaming channel and it's a Anne Hathaway, feature, I'm like, okay, I'll watch it.
Yep,
So I see
absolutely.
that. I totally see that. Good choices. Okay, if you were to do a second book and you were going to co-write with any known author, living or dead, who would it be?
If I was to do a second book and co-write with any author, oh gosh, I think that my co-author would be I have 2 answers to this question too, not people. The person that I would choose would be Mel Robbins. I love Mel Robbins, and if you don't know about Mel Robbins, go out and look at her. She's fantastic. She puts out some great stuff. It would be Mel Robbins or, okay, I'll stop there because I can name all of them right now, but Mel Robbins definitely one of them. I guess I was gonna say also or Matthew McConaughey because, hey,
Oh,
Green Lights, I love that book. And, and he
wow.
has such
Very
a
good.
zest for life that I have always felt drawn to. But on the second book topic, one thing that I didn't do in this book was I really stayed away from I talked about my career, my profession, but I didn't dive into audacious optimism as leaders or in leadership. And that is a series that I actually talk on as well. So if ever was any mm, appetite for a second book of mine, that's what it would be: audacious optimism and leadership.
I think we just manifested that. That's going to happen. We're going to have you back in 5 years and we're going to be talking about audacious leadership and,
And
yeah, that'd be the sequel. Okay, couple more in the lightning round.
okay.
What was the most unusual place you found that gave you inspiration for your writing?
Mhm. I think one of the most unusual places that I found it there's several along the way, but I think one of the things that I found was being able to just sit in a cozy environment and, playing whether it be piano music or, you know what, actually I love the Bridgerton soundtrack of any of
Oh,
them songs that are just playing in the background, kind of that popular flair, kind of energizing, but yet no vocals. And, I'd light candles in my office and kinda turn down the lights, and so it was really kind of like this meditation zone for me that I would find along the way. I felt that, many people can go to bookstores or, coffee shops and write. I don't think I'm one of those people because I get too stimulated by people walking in or anything else around me. So that environment of really closed and cozy, and especially on those days where it would snow or rain, I was like, this
I
is
can see it now. Sweatpants, a white
yes.
cardigan, your hot cocoa, candles. Oh, I have a picture of Shauna in her element. All right. So are there any what book are you reading right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, so when I'm reading, I'm taking a break from anything. During my writing process, I took a break from anything that was kind of in the same genre as mine. And so the book I'm reading right now is actually called Dear Iris, and it's a, fictional book. And I kind of, my my flavor of book is always like, um, a little bit more on the, what's the book that series I just read? Iron Flame or, all those that kind of book where it's like the romantic, but it's a little bit of sci-fi, it's a little bit of imagination, the fantasy, all that stuff. So Dear Iris, though, is about a woman who's a writer, and she finds out that the typewriter she's using, is, magically connected to another typewriter of a handsome young man. So
Oh my God, I have to get this one too. It sounds great.
yes, so it's good, it's good.
Any authors out there that inspired you other than the other Shauna?
Oh, yeah, I mean, Mel Robbins, obviously, Simon Sinek, Adam Grant, as I said, Matthew McConaughey, mm, so many out there, but those were some that quickly came to mind along the way that I would constantly, I've listened to in my track, in my journey. But I also just really love how they project themselves and how they tell the story that they do and are passionate about what they're passionate about.
All right, so let's wrap it up with this question. What's next, Shauna? What's next for Shauna? I want to know. Is there anything left over?
Oh gosh, I always think Dawn, I am just a lover of life and adventure and trying to think what else could I do. I think in the right now the Olympics are on as we're recording this, and Simone Biles
Oh,
said
what a story
something.
there.
Yes, said something I thought was so great. is that they said, "Well, you don't have to do this because you've already reached the top of your game." And she said, "But I do because I can." And so I love that because I think that it's like, okay, well, as long as I still can and I can still try, it's like, why not try something new and something next? So maybe it's a book too, maybe it's continue with my speaking career, maybe it's doing more and more, with Oracle, who knows? But I'm really loving where I'm at right now and the work that I'm doing both with Oracle and also with the inspiration and connection with people around the world. And so we'll see.
I can't wait to get that hot little book in my hands and get your autograph on it. And, you're part of our family, so we know we'll get to see and connect with you in a live, space. And you're always taking one of our stages, whether it's here on our podcast or at one of our race conferences. It's just such a pleasure to know you. I mean, this half hour went by, in a heartbeat. I feel like I can talk to you all day, and that's probably why we needed you to write this book because you're just so inspiring and fun, And I'm so glad that you called cheerleading a sport, right?
It
Because
is.
it is a sport.
It
Absolutely.
is a sport.
It is a sport. Well, Fearless Fundraisers, that's about all we have time for today. I know you're just going to have to get Shauna's book if you want a little bit more. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's Raise Nation topic and your just daily dose of, we'll call it inspiration today, not fundraising inspiration. Tune in for a new episode released every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. That's Thursdays, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But in the meantime, listen to all the episodes on Raise Nation Radio. We just reached our 150th, so you have a little catching up to do. And you really can stay on wherever you get your podcast because we're there. We stream on 10 different channels. We're on YouTube as well as onecause.com. And so just follow us. And this way you can get notifications about all our new guests. So, and if you're a fundraiser, come on and join us. We'd love to hear your inspiring story and share that with the world as well. I would like to thank our sponsor, One Cause, for making this episode possible. One Cause is driving the future of fundraising with easy to use digital fundraising solutions that help nonprofits connect with donors. Check it out, onecause.com. And please visit the resource tab. There's a broad catalog of free content, and hopefully you'll take advantage of it and find it helpful. A huge shout out and thanks and so much gratitude to my guest, Shanna Adamic, for sharing her story and excerpt from her brand new book, Audacious. We're so excited. It's coming out in October. So I'm not sure when you're listening to this podcast episode, but October 2024 is on pre-sale. We'll get that all in the show notes for you so that you have an easy time of finding Shanna and getting your hands on her book. Shanna, thank you so much for being with us today. We know you just got back from Australia. We didn't get a chance to talk about that, so we'll have to invite you back. I so enjoyed our conversation, but I do have to ask you any last words of inspiration for our audience.
I think that we're all out there doing the best we can, living our best lives, and we have incredible chapters ahead of us, no matter what everyone is dealing with right now. Just go after it boldly and write your next bold chapter.
Wow. And choose optimistic. Choose to
Choose
be
optimism.
Yeah,
Yes.
choose optimism. Well, thank you again so much. That is a wrap. Until next time, I'm Dawn Lego. This is Raise Nation Radio. You stay fearless out there.